John and I we're talking about the iPhone 10, and it is interesting, though, when you take a look at the comment was made. Well, that's a mortgage payment, and wherever, Deerfield. The fact is, when you think about what we pay for cable TV and our cell phones today, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is insane.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, listen, we are glad to have you on the line here this morning, and we've been anticipating these numbers. And let's talk about do you want to get into the methodology and how you did this? And also, there's a few indicators in there showing some really pretty amazing accuracy. John, you might be onto something here.
Yeah, I think we are. Well, you know, as we issue a statement with this poll, and you'll be posting it sometime today, all of the details. But essentially, at Zogby International and now Zogby Strategies, we have never been afraid to pioneer in new methodologies, and this is the latest. Now, essentially, we've used multimedia, many platforms, broadcast platform. You're broadcasting for people to participate. We've used social media. We've used click-on banner ads, and basically had a wide invitation throughout your listening audience and those who visit the various town square media websites to participate in this poll.
Yeah.
And they did, and essentially the demographics came out close to perfect in terms of the demographics of our poll versus the demographics of Oneida, Herkimer counties, and of course additional areas within your listening audience.
I thought it was interesting to see that in terms of party affiliation, that was almost identical to. It might be a little different in Herkimer County, where there'd be less Democrats down there. But still, if you take a look at Oneida County, you're at 41% Republicans, 32% Democrats. That's pretty close. Yeah,
it was right on the money. And then we had the family court race, which we nailed, a 6-point margin. 53 to 47, and so that told us that that was the best barometric reading that you could get. So these results are good. The other thing is that there's no knee-jerk leaning one way or another on any of these responses. They reflect honest opinions. I don't know that any of them really are counterintuitive.
Okay, so what I would like to do here is go through the results, and this is really the first time we've taken the temperature of the public. I'd like to save two for last. Let's do the downtown hospital last. And next to last, we'll do the NY22, because I think people are really anticipating both of those. So I want to start with the new casino in downtown Utica.
Not really even close. The new casino, only 32% in the entire listening area support the casino. 68% do not support it. And I should point out that of that 68%, 50% say they do not support it at all. I mean, so that's very strong opposition. That's the most intense of the responses, and 50% overall do not support it at all.
And that is basically adding another casino. I know that the mayor has not been completely against the casino per se, but he has been against it if it's not in the Harbor Point area. But this is basically saying downtown, no casino.
Yeah, we did say a new casino in downtown Utica. But essentially, I think it sounds to me like the broader concept as opposed to finding an appropriate or more appropriate or a different downtown location.
Next one was, what is your level of support for the referendum calling for a state constitutional convention? Of course, we already know the official results of this, but I think these numbers are pretty cool, pretty good when it comes to accuracy.
They are. They're pretty reflective of our region. 26% total support or would have supported the Constitutional Convention. 61% did not support it, and overall 46%, again almost half, did not support it at all.
Yeah.
So that's a very intense opposition.
If you've taken the poll, you realize that there's do not support at all, mostly unsupportive, somewhat unsupportive, somewhat supportive, mostly supportive, totally supportive, and not sure. And then you take all of those and combine them, and it is interesting when you see people who are absolute, 46% of those people vehemently against a casino going downtown. That's a pretty big number.
It is, and only 9% totally supportive of it.
And that was me. I voted several times.
Were you for that?
Not true. I have no problem with the casino.
Not only not true, we eliminated multiple.
That's right.
Nice try.
Pushed right out. But and for me personally, I would like to see that complex downtown, and I think adding a casino, I'm okay with it. I think people should be held. I don't like the argument of, people are going to gamble and they're going to lose money. In the same way, I don't like the argument on other social issues,
like a bar.
Like bars. They're going to go out and get drunk, and prohibition. Even when it comes to, I'm for. I don't like seeing these guys arrested for prostitution, and all. I'm very much like, let people be responsible. If you're married, you shouldn't be going out and messing around. If you drink, you shouldn't go out and drink to oblivion. If you're gambling, you shouldn't gamble if you can't gamble. And I understand some people are going to abuse it, but I think we should be able to make that decision for ourselves. More of a where would that fall on your tribes, John? I'm not sure.
Well, what's funny is I was just thinking that because I disagree with you on a couple of those points, and we both registered happy hedonist.
You're right.
All three of us.
Actually, all three of us
and
did.
We'll get into some of that too, John. But more of a libertarian view.
Yeah.
Let commerce do what commerce does. And I understand that this is. Hey, you've got the United.
That's the land of the free, incidentally.
Maybe that's where I really am. Maybe
that's a good slogan. Someone should use that.
Yeah, I like it. Commerce will do what I've already forgotten it. Okay, here's another one that's vehemently not in support. What is your level of support for Governor Cuomo running for president in 2020?
Oh, wow.
20% total support and 80% total not support or opposition. And what was interesting there is that only 40% of Democrats support the idea of his running for president, 60% opposed, and only 21% of independents support him running for president. 79% opposed.
Yeah. Well, he's not listening to that because, he's just been out in California doing his fundraising, and a lot of people think it's for that run.
And they feel it's optimistic, but what else are they going to say? Of course, they're going to say it's optimistic. But and what do you think has caused that, John? Obviously, for Republicans, Second Amendment, the SAFE Act was terribly unpopular. They went after teachers. That did not bode well. The Caballeros thing and the investments downtown that have kind of gone upside down. Is it all of this stuff combined?
All of it combined. Of course, we're right in the heart of upstate New York. And I think it's some miserable efforts at economic development, throwing a lot of money our way and every which way, and not really producing very many jobs. But Andrew Cuomo is a very different sort of political persona. He doesn't generate love or intensity. His father, could do that a whole lot better than he could. Yeah. And I think third terms are pretty rough, especially these days. Kind of an anti-incumbent mood, and I just don't think that folks see him as presidential material, at least not yet. And I would say from this, not likely either.
All right, here's another good question. What is your level of support for keeping term limits for elected officials in the city of Utica? So term limits for Utica.
These are only among Utica voters, so we segmented out Utica voters.
Okay.
the keeping
the term limits.
Yep, and 26% opposed keeping term limits.
That's a pretty big number right there.
It is. And in fact, the supportive, over half were totally supportive of keeping term limits.
And what do you think that says for Mayor Palmieri and Joe Marino's efforts, saying that he's going to try to introduce legislation to go back to those to that 8-year term limit? What does that say?
I think that folks are in a not a foul mood, but I think maybe tired of seeing the same names over and over again. People want change. Now, I think that they're sensing that they're getting change in Utica, but I think they want more. They want a change of personnel.
Yeah.
John, can I get those numbers again? Because I think I misheard you.
It's actually 75 supportive, 26 unsupportive.
Yeah, and incidentally, that does indeed add up to 101, and that's what happens with rounding. So it's 75, 5, 20, 25, 5. So that's what happens.
Okay. All right. Do you believe, this is another biggie. I love these questions, by the way, John. These are good questions that are really on everybody's minds. It's the key issues that people are constantly talking about around here. And this is a biggie. Do you believe or not believe that nanotechnology will be a major part of a regional economic development for our area? And this is an interesting result.
It is a very interesting result. 25% believe that nanotechnology it will be part of our economic development and growth. 25%, 35% do not believe it. And I think most importantly, 40% are not sure.
So the big number is not sure here.
The big number is not sure. If you combine not believe and not sure, that's 75% of lost ground on this. I think had we taken this poll maybe a couple of years ago, those numbers might have been different.
Yeah.
I think there was a general optimism about it. I think that the indictments of key officials and developers had a lot to do with it. I think the cancellation of probably the major Quad C contract had a lot to do with it. I wouldn't say the area is back into a funk, but I would say that local officials should pay close attention to this because the public is skeptical.
Yeah. Okay, and again, that big number, 40% not sure, 35% don't believe it's going to amount to anything, and there are 25% that really are believers. Okay, next, do you agree or disagree that the $10 million the state has allocated for Rome's downtown renovation will be spent wisely to benefit the residents of the city and its suburbs? This is really a question on where you think the city is going with Mayor Izzo, and what do we get here?
And this is the entire listening area because we figured let's not just limit it to Rome.
Okay.
This is a statement. Yeah. So 42% agree that it'll be spent wisely. 22% disagree. That's a almost 2-to-1 ratio favorable. 36% not sure. And, of course, a lot of those 36% coming from outside of Rome.
A lot of the 36% coming outside. So that's a lot of the not sure is coming from outside the city of Rome.
Yeah. Which is not to say that there, weren't folks not sure in Rome, but needless to say, once you get out into Herkimer and Ilion, Frankfurt, Waterville, for example, those were folks that were more than likely going to say.
Got it.
Sure.
All right, so pay close attention. Herkimer County. There's a current proposal to build a new Herkimer County jail on a site formerly occupied by PNC on Route 28. This project would involve the use of eminent domain. Do you think that the county should exercise eminent domain and proceed at the PNC site, choose another site, not build a new jail at all, or not sure? What did we get out of this one?
35% favoring the current proposed site, to 35% to exercise eminent domain and proceed, 40% however, said best to choose another site. 23% said not build a new jail at all.
Wow.
And then there were a couple that were not sure, 2% not sure.
And what do you read out of that? I mean, 35% in favor. Is that sending a message to the legislature in Herkimer County?
Oh, I think it is. You know, and I think sometimes, lots of times, folks are in a bubble. They're either in a bubble dealing with each other or dealing simply with their own constituency. That's why it's good to have a total community perspective. But for this, what is essentially a long-standing proposal, this is not solid public support. You know, I'd also say that, as I'm sure you realize, the whole notion of eminent domain these days is getting a bashing, because there have been many instances where eminent domain has been seen to, you know, benefit a few. That's not the case here, but the whole term of eminent domain kind of conjures up kind of a broader distrust of local government or government in general.
Well, and we'll be getting into that a little bit with the downtown hospital. Next up, let's do in the race for Congress 2018. The candidates: Democrat Anthony Brindisi and Republican Claudia Tenney. If the election were to be held today, for whom would you vote, Tenney or Brindisi? What do we get out of this one?
Brindisi 49, Tenney the incumbent 35. 16% not sure. And I want to remind voters that our party identification is reflective of the at least the two counties in this district. But let me tell you that some breakdowns on this. Tenney did well among Trump supporters, those who voted for Trump. She gets 57% to 25 among Trump supporters. But among her own Republican Party, she leads 53% to 33%, 14% not sure. Now look at that 53% she gets among Republicans versus the 80% that Anthony Brindisi gets among Democrats, to 6. So, and then there are...
That's not. I would say that's not surprising.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
So 1/3 of Republicans are going with Brindisi on this one, and that could be obviously a significant problem for her.
And then you've got 16% that are undecided, which is still a very interesting number, but probably pretty common at this point in the election that really shouldn't even be started as of yet. When you think about it.
It shouldn't. And frankly, that 16% is kind of low for a congressional district at this point, you know, with a year to go.
Yeah.
So, so voters are lining up
already,
at least for right now.
Digging in. All right, finally we come down.
No, go right ahead.
Finally, we're coming down to the hospital. This is another big one that has people divided, I believe anyway. So what is your level of support for the new hospital located in downtown Utica? And what'd you find here?
Level of support is 50% on the nose, and the level of opposition is 50% on the nose. 50-50. Now, let's break that down just a little bit. How many do not support this hospital at all? The most intense opposition, 37%. The most intense support is 29%. So the opposition is strong and the opposition is intense, but it comes out 50-50.
So when you take a look at mostly unsupportive, somewhat unsupportive versus somewhat supportive, mostly supportive, and totally supportive, you add them all together, it's 50-50. What are your thoughts on that? Does that surprise you?
No, not really. You know, it's the first time we're getting a measurement on it, but I don't know that hearts and minds have been won on this yet. I don't know that people can express an awful lot of detail about the hospital. I don't believe, I'm hedging here, but I don't believe that hospital officials have acted in a transparent way. In fact, I'm not sure they even know the answers. I think this is a case where a pot of money is available and local officials are running and chasing to catch up. In the process, at least for now, it doesn't look like they've brought a significant enough number of people on their side.
Well, we're going to find out directly with Bob Schofield from MVHS, who's coming up next, and we'll talk to him about these results. It is quite certainly quite interesting.
You know, I got to say, I'm absolutely shocked. I know this is not a perfect project. And people do have some valid questions and concerns.
Were you shocked at it? How did you think it would turn out?
I thought it would be more in favor of the hospital. This is an opportunity for the area to really have a $500 million investment in downtown Utica and significantly upgrade the healthcare system in the area. Could you imagine if this hospital doesn't happen? If this hospital doesn't happen, how much longer do we go to St. E's and Faxton? For 20 more years? 40 more years?
I know. Gotta wonder, John. Very interesting. So we'll pass these along to Bob Schofield. We'll have this entire result, all of the poll results. We'll place them up on our website. And next week, I'd like to bring you back on to talk about the tribal results, because there were other questions in here, and I want to know what the results are and what they mean. So if you're available to do that, I think we should do that next week.
I'm happy to do that, and I have to say that it's been a pleasure working with you and Andrew and Jeff and Karen and Phil. I hope I didn't miss anybody on this entire project. It has been fun.
John Zogby, this was more than fun. It was incredibly interesting, and for the first time, we're able to put numbers and match them up with some bit of certainty, and I like that. All right, we'll talk next week, John. Thanks so much.
Take care.
All right, there he goes, John Zogby. What do you think?
Shocked. I'm shocked.
Pretty interesting on many of these results.